So we noticed that Washington National Cathedral is actually charging people to attend their services, which is quite amazing. So this is an Episcopal cathedral, isn't it? It's not a Roman Catholic cathedral. So it's an Episcopal cathedral, so they're Anglicans in America. And you can actually click through. So I just did it. Family Christmas service, Saturday, 23rd of December, 11 a.m. 2 tickets, $7 each. And I did actually check that this goes for their Eucharistic services as well. It's not just for kind of their carol services or whatever it might be. It's quite literally. So Christmas Eve festival, Holy Eucharist, 2 tickets, please. Please wait. This will take a few moments. And then it comes up again, $7. So you actually have to pay to go to these services. Yeah.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Here's some thoughts on that. Firstly, if this was done, say, in the Roman Catholic Church, as far as I understand, under its canons on simony, to ticket the mass, paid ticket the mass, would be an act of simony, which would engender an automatic excommunication on the priest.
And so simony meaning the selling of sacraments or ecclesiastical offices, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So there would be an automatic penalty for attempting this. The other thing that struck me is that this is the mother church of the American Episcopal setup, TEC, the Episcopal Church.
Yeah.
Which ticks all the boxes in terms of progressivism. And we are told that if the more that we become like TEC, the more that we will be appealing to the world, that those who have felt disenfranchised and alienated supposedly from the Christian faith or hurt, marginalized, misaligned, will come flooding back.
Yeah, so that, just to be clear to people listening, so that's what's being said to the C of E by the progressive.
We must become like TEC. TEC are ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and TEC is the Episcopal Church, just in case people didn't.
So TEC is ahead of the curve. This is what we have to do. TEC doesn't have any of this discrimination here. It's a totally all-inclusive package, and here it is. And yet they are so financially hit. And there are people on Anglican Twitter who are saying, oh, they're doing this because they have to raise money. They're struggling as a congregation. So they're charging for people to come to Holy Communion during Christmas, $7 entry fee. And yet, this should be on paper. Hang on a minute. I thought this would be the church that would be so full. Everyone would be coming to it, because this is the idealized Christianity. This is it as it should be at its zenith. And yet, oh dear, it's empty pews. People aren't turning. People aren't investing in this. We offered you everything, and yet you didn't come, and so we're going to have to charge £7 because actually the whole edifice is struggling. So that doesn't kind of bode well, does it? Really,
No.
Maybe we don't want to be on this curve. I just find the whole thing crass and awful. I think particularly the Eucharist, which is this. The sign and symbol, the presence of Christ, and the worship par excellence, which should be open to all. I don't mean anyone can come up and have Holy Communion. I mean that people should be able to. Anybody should be able to attend. The best of what we have to offer, irrespective of what's in their bank account. Now, Jamie, if you look further on to their website, Luke, I'm going to do a shout out here to Luke Appleby, my friend in the diocese, who did some digging on this. If you want to get baptized in this church, you have to have all sorts of connections. One of which can be that you are a regular giver, financial giver to the cathedral.
I did see that. It was like a kind of checklist of things you needed to do if you wanted to get baptized, and you had to make a certain sort of pledge, didn't you?
So you can buy your way into baptism.
Yeah, ironic, isn't it? On the front page of the website, it says Washington National Cathedral, a house of prayer for all people. But obviously only certain types of people with a certain amount of money in their wallets. So I mean,
that's been one of the problems with tech, is that, you know, it has been seen over the years as the church of the privileged, of the elites, of the upper middle classes. That it's kind of more expatriate than the British, you know. That it's for a certain type of person and who likes a certain type of thing, and that if you're just Joe Bloggs walking in, this might not be the church. This might not be the church for you. That it's very clubby.
It's funny, isn't it? It's a hard one to actually sort of understand, because you would have thought from a left progressive perspective, this would be seen as the kind of ultimate victory of the free market capitalist ideology, where everything has to have some kind of financial value placed upon it. Everything has to be sellable, you know, whether that's human flesh or sacraments. You know, everything has a price. Everything can be sold. And you would think that there would be something about the kind of left, or maybe it's not progressive left, maybe that's more of a kind of traditional left-wing critique of capitalism. I suppose it is, isn't it? It's more kind of a traditional Marxist critique, which would say that like everything has to be sort of codified economically and sellable, and therefore we can, you know, everything has to be sort of drawn into this market logic.
So have you noticed, Jamie, that in the churches, there's often a pattern when it comes to this, that where finance and money is the kind of key strategic value, that it's more often than not it's within the sort of progressive circles. It's within the cathedral cultures of the churches, where, you know, any way to make a buck.
Yeah,
it seems to be the sort of trap line, and I find increasingly those of us who have a more traditional leaning tend to be the more laissez-faire about all this stuff. You know, I've noticed clergy from a more liberal progressive bent are often the most exacting on this sort of stuff, you know, and put all sorts of hoops in front of people, or policies, you know, financial constraints, and so on and so on. You know, make it incredibly difficult for folks, say, to get married in church or baptized in church, and it's us who are the more relaxed about, you know, about this. And
well, I mean, could you say that it's because people who are more orthodox actually believe that these things have a sort of spiritual meaning, which is overwhelmingly the primary point of them? Whereas if you sort of dial down that or diminish that, maybe it becomes easier to start thinking about them in different ways. Like, well, maybe we could sell this, you know, maybe we can make some money out of it. I don't know, I'm just speculating there.
Yeah, and that, you know, I suppose a sacramental understanding of the sacraments. For instance, I generally want to understand that people can grow, say, in sacraments. So I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to try and put, for instance, a couple coming to get married who are really poor. I want to support them as much as possible, so they're not crippled by the Church of England's fees, because I believe that in the sacrament, they they can grow in the spirit through this.
Mm.
But if the first message they hear is about, this is the Church of England's fees, and do you understand it? And by the way, we want a deposit.
Yeah.
What message does that give about the supernatural effects of that? In most people's minds, what the dominant story that they'll come away from those sort of interviews is the vicar wants money.